Okay, welcome again to this side event, PRTR in Action, Tools and Country Experiences. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Naoko Moritani from the OECD Secretariat, and I will serve as a moderator for this event. I'd like to kindly remind the participants online to please keep your microphones muted and then cameras off throughout the session. Please note that the chat function is disabled. Questions will be taken at the end of the session. This is a side event to the fifth session of the meeting of the parties to the protocol on PRTRs in Geneva, and it is also a webinar which is part of a series on the IOMC Toolbox. The side event is organized by the OECD and IOMC in cooperation with UNECE and UNITER. This event is recorded and will be available on replay on the event web page shortly. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Marco Kiener, Director of the UNECE Environment Division, to make the opening remarks of the event. Yeah. Marco, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, dear colleagues, dear participants. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this important PRTR event, PRTRs in Action. As you know, throughout the whole week, we have been discussing many important topics concerning access to justice, public participation and information, as well as capacity building activities and possible modernizations of pollutant release and transfer registers. In its advisory opinion on climate change, the International Court of Justice has reiterated that pollution is among the core elements of the triple planetary crisis and that it puts lives at risks, be it on the global scale or at local pollution hotspots. We, as humanity, I think you all agree, have known about these challenges for a long time and still have not yet taken the effective actions to tackle the associated dangers. PRTRs create evidence and can teach us about the sources of pollution. They aim to provide governments, the public, and other stakeholders with a comprehensive overview of all significant sources of pollution. And by this, they also help polluters to become more aware about their actual pollutant releases and also, which is important, to identify better ways for the production or transportation of these. This versatile nature of PRTRs makes the protocol a rather unique treaty that is capable to manage pollution in an effective and efficient way. The Integrated Open Chemical Management Toolbox supports these aims by providing practical guidance and tools for national PRTR systems and by promoting synergies between PRTRs and other information systems on chemicals, waste, and industrial safety. We at UNECE are honored to service such a remarkable global treaty as the Protocol on PRTRs. Even though the parties to the treaty are still mainly European countries, PRTRs are based on a common standard that can be applied around the globe. And I remain hopeful that more and more countries will see the value of solid common standards and the principles that the protocol offers, and therefore decide to join the community of currently 38 parties to the protocol on PRTRs in the following years. In this regard, it's wonderful to see that today's event will, among others, feature a South American perspective on the question of PRTR implementation. Let me warmly thank the OECD for their continued development of new mechanisms within the IOCM concept and for their fruitful and long-standing cooperation. Someone is tired already on the critical topic of chemicals management. Thank you so much for organizing today's event. Also, our colleagues from UNITA and personally my UNECE expert, Christoph Dusso. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Marco, for having the warm opening remarks, emphasizing the importance of the PRTRs and the PRTR protocol. Now we will begin with an overview of what a PRTR, pollutant release and transfer register, is, and how it supports chemicals management and pollution prevention. I would like to invite our colleague from UNECE, Christoph Dusso, to share what the PRTR is and then an introduction to the PRTR protocol with his video recording.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to introduce the protocol on PRTRs. My name is Christoph Dusso. I'm working for the House Convention Secretariat. My presentation will be very brief, and I would like for you to see it as an invitation for countries and stakeholders to get in touch with me and the UNECE Secretariat to learn more about the protocol on PRTRs and its implementation. This to the protocol defined pollutant as a substance or group of substances that may be harmful to the environment or to human health on account of its properties and of its introduction into the environment. As a result, the protocol covers substances such as greenhouse gases, heavy metals, persistent organic pollutants, and others. The protocol was adopted in 2003, is therefore younger than other chemical pollution and waste-related MEAs, such as the Basel, Rotterdam, and Stockholm Conventions. It was agreed earlier on than Minamata Convention, for example. It is quite interesting to look at the text of these MEAs and see how with each negotiated instrument over time, the notion of access to relevant data becomes more concrete, resulting in the model of PRTRs being first mentioned in the Stockholm Convention and then becoming increasingly detailed description in the Minamata Convention text. We also observe a similar development now with the objectives and targets of the global framework on chemicals. In short, PRTRs do not cover only one specific aspect of pollution of air or water or land, neither do they cover a specific group of pollutants alone. They aim to provide governments, the public, and other stakeholders with a comprehensive overview of all significant sources of pollution. Therefore, they serve as an important infrastructure that is based on common standards and it can be applied around the globe and across different processes and that supports action and cooperation. We are led, for example, to establish coordinated reporting systems, including for cost-efficient national and international reporting. Countries use it also to support the polluter pays principle and complex decisions on economic, social, and environmental matters. They also use it to support local governments by developing tools to effectively use the pollution data. PRTRs also support multi-stakeholder dialogue, leading to more trust. And through cooperation of different organizations and countries and stakeholders, it has the potential to make user-friendly access to information and public participation a driving force for economic, environmental, and social development. Let me come to an end by stating that raising awareness and applying a cohesive and integrated approach to pollution is essential. In this regard, sharing of knowledge and experience between countries and organizations is the key to the success of such efforts. Rooted in national policy and legal frameworks and making active use of relevant tools and guidance provided under the MEAs and by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, PRTR systems can offer government stakeholders a coordinated reporting system on pollutants that can advance the synergetic implementation of the BRS, Minamata Conventions, UNECER, and AUS Conventions, as well as the Global Framework on Chemicals, just to name a few examples. Some of the benefits of investing in a PRTR system include creating a legal framework for information sharing and communication across national stakeholders, the reduction in duplication and facilitation of MEA's reporting, enhanced effectiveness in the evaluation of data quality, leading to its improvement, improved long-term environmental performance and policies, provision of immediate fact-based support for decision makers enabled by user-friendly data visualization. It sets emission in spatial and other contexts such as health-related infrastructure, demographic, and economic data. Thank you for your attention, and please do not hesitate to contact me for more detailed information about the protocol on PRTRs. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, Christoph, for providing the informative introduction of PRTR and the PRTR protocol. Now, I would like to briefly introduce OECD's work on PRTRs. So OECD has 38 member countries. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, we are having a technical problem. Thank you very much for your patience. OECD has 38 member countries, many partner countries, and other stakeholders work together to develop and coordinate activities on chemical safety and biosafety on an international basis. The PRTR program is one of the key programs for us. Our work focuses on reducing a country's efforts and avoid duplication when establishing or improving PRTR-related policies. How do we assist countries? The OECD supports countries by developing guidance documents, sharing good practices, and promoting harmonization of PRTRs for better pollutant management. Along with the objectives, recently, we have 3 focus areas, which is improving PRTRs, enhancing the use of PRTR data, and harmonizing PRTRs by providing a harmonized list of pollutants and reporting sectors and a guidance document. I will introduce several flagship guidance documents and tools aligned with the GFC later on. Now, I would like to move to the next session. Our next presentation will highlight the newly revised PRTR management scheme in the IOMC Toolbox and how the IOMC Toolbox can support implementation of the global framework on chemicals. The OECD Working Party on PRTRs, together with colleagues from UNITER and UNECE, has contributed to revising the PRTR management scheme. I would like to invite my colleague, Valerie Friesen from the OECD, to present her progress. Valerie, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
So, as you may know, this event is a side event in Geneva, but it is also part of a webinar series on the IOMC Toolbox recent updates and how it helps with meeting the GFC target. So today I will briefly introduce the IOMC Toolbox and the GFC context. Then I will briefly show you the recent revision of the PRTR management scheme. I will identify how the PRTR management scheme contributes to the global framework on chemicals, and then I will very briefly mention the capacity building activities and provide links that can be useful. So, as previously with the strategic approach to the international chemicals management, the IOMC Toolbox provides guidance that contributes to the implementation of the Global Framework on Chemicals, GFC. As you know, it was adopted in 2023 at the ICCM5, and its vision is simple but ambitious: a planet free of harm from chemicals and waste. It provides essential building blocks for a future in which humanity benefits from chemicals in a safe and sustainable manner while avoiding their negative impacts. This GFC presents a comprehensive plan with 5 strategic objectives and 28 targets to guide countries and stakeholders in jointly addressing the life cycle of chemicals, including products and waste. So the 5 strategic objectives aim to strengthen legal frameworks and enforcement, knowledge and information, issues of concern, prevention and innovation, and capacity building and partnerships. And so this webinar is part of a series that will show the IOMC Toolbox updates and how it helps countries make tangible progress under these objectives. The IOMC Toolbox is an internet-based tool that enables countries to identify the most relevant and efficient national chemicals management actions. It takes into account the resource available and guides users towards cost-effective solutions adapted to the country. And at each implementation step, the toolbox presents the relevant resource, guidance documents, and training material, all available online and free of charge. We have recently added some guidance to identify how it helps implementing the GFC, with some more information on links with the GFC targets, and also with some filters added based on the GFC strategic objectives. The revised pollutants release and transfer registers management scheme was completely restructured. We have 3 categories of elements: PRTR initiation, PRTR operation, and long-term success. Each element is linked with guidance documents and tools, and we have added the latest relevant IOMC resource, and they were linked to each relevant element. And we also have added new, more information pages that provide additional information and background information, as well as the mapping of the IOMC Toolbox to the targets. I want to rapidly make a demonstration, but I think I have to start over my share screen. Sorry again. Voila. So this is the IOMC Toolbox. You first have a place where you have a search. Then you have some information about the IOMC Toolbox. And here directly are all the management schemes where you can find the national management scheme for PRTRs. We also have management schemes for other topics such as chemical accidents, best available techniques, industrial and consumer chemicals, GHS, occupational safety and health, public health management, and soon we will add also one on countering illegal pesticides, one on mutual acceptance of data, and one on waste management. So when you click on the management scheme for PRTR, you have a description explaining what it is about, and it displays a list of elements that are necessary for a cost-effective management system. And the first step is the design and the initiation with these different steps and stages to create PRTR system. And then you have other elements for the operation and for the long-term success. We also have different according to the resource available. If your country has very limited resource available for implementing your management system, you select limited. But if you have additional resource, or let's say that at a later stage you would like to improve your PRTR system, you can select medium or high, and you will have additional elements that appear, and also additional information in each element. So I will just show you very rapidly one element to show you how you can see the guidance document. So for an element, we explain what it is about, and to support the explanation, we provide with a list of guidance documents that were created by IOMC organization or the BRS Secretariat. And you can find all the links with a small description and the link to the document. I will just rapidly come back to the homepage just to show you also at the bottom, you have a list of toolkits that are complementary to the IOMC Toolbox. It's different information. And you also have a calendar with the future and past events, the news, and some flyers information. I will now go back to my presentation. Sorry for the little. So I will now very briefly mention how the PRTR management system helps in the implementation of the GFC. The pollutant release and transfer register management scheme contributes directly to achieving the target A1, target B3, D1, D2, and E2. It is part of the strategic objective A. PRTRs increase transparency and accountability in chemicals management, thereby supporting minimizing the adverse effects of chemicals and waste. And PRTRs provide immediate support for decision making. Regarding strategic objective B, knowledge, data, and science, it assesses the availability of data on chemicals and waste emissions and releases. For the strategic objective D, PRTR data supports companies in assessing effectiveness of pollution prevention measures and innovation towards advancing sustainable chemistry and resource efficiency. And strategic objective E, PRTRs increase transparency and accountability in chemicals management, thereby building trust between stakeholders. And so the management scheme really provides a step-by-step approach that is adaptable to the different resource level. And we encourage countries to use the IOMC Toolbox as a practical roadmap for turning global GFC commitments into national actions. Oops, sorry. So I will not list again all the elements, but you can see in this table which GFC targets are linked to each element. And I will just briefly mention our capacity building activities. Both through the project of the IOMC Toolbox, all the IOMC organization organize capacity building activities. We have this webinar series, but also we can organize workshops, and also OECD organize capacity building activities on the different OECD work on chemicals. You can subscribe to the webinar series. You will find the link in my presentation. And you can also contact us requesting for tailored capacity building events. And of course, if you need to if the priorities and needs in your country are on different topics, we always coordinate with other organizations, and we try to work together to best help you. So please don't hesitate to send me an email if you wish to know more. And the last slide is just for you to have a couple of useful links, the links to the IOMC Toolbox, the link to our webpage on OECD capacity building on chemical management, the webpage on chemical safety and biosafety of the OECD. I've put the link of the GFC, also the publication search page. We also created a web page for the events, this webinar, where you will be able to find the video recording on replay and also all the presentations. So thank you very much, and please don't hesitate to contact me if necessary.
Thank you very much, Valerie, for presenting how to use the IOMC Toolbox and how the PRTR management scheme of the IOMC Toolbox may contribute to the target of the GFC, together with the capacity building event information and links and references. Now, I would like to provide a short overview of our flagship guidance documents and tools, starting with the OECD Data Explorer, PRTR Data Explorer. So this is a global pollutant information portal based on 39 countries' PRTR data. The dashboard provides insights into the global picture of pollutant releases and their associated toxicity-weighted releases. Although this is not an inclusive dashboard because pollutants and sectors in PRTRs vary from country and to per country, we focused on the common areas, made the dashboard enable cross-country comparisons of emissions, and allowed users to view aggregated releases. Therefore, I believe this dashboard could help us measure global progress on the implementation of the GFC. The next dashboard is the Center for PRTR Data. This center provides national PRTR data from OECD countries in a single visual and interactive dashboard. It includes a comprehensive data sets of pollutants and covers all types of releases and transfers, rather than being strictly comparable. Users can filter and explore data very easily. Going to the next guidance documents, which I presented at the mock meeting, resource compendium of PRTR release estimation techniques for point sources. A key element of any PRTR program is the set of estimation techniques used to generate data on facility-specific releases, disposals, and transfers. Developing a new estimation techniques can be resource-intensive. Therefore, to help reduce costs and to assist the countries in improving their PRTR, these documents identified and compiled major techniques currently used to estimate point source emissions to air, water, and land across member countries. So this document can definitely help stakeholders achieve target B3 of the GFC by generating data on emissions and releases of chemicals to the environment. The next one is uses of PRTR data and tools for their presentation. To enhance use of PRTR data, this dashboard and report compiles good practices of the data uses and the tools for their presentation from various stakeholders, such as national and local governments, industry, NGOs, media, and academia. The dashboard illustrates the varied uses of PRTR data and encourages additional audiences to access PRTR data. You can see on the screen, the dashboard includes examples of the data uses for policy making, environmental performance assessment, risk assessment, and so on. And it also shows the examples of PRTR data tools, such as presentation of PRTR data, ranking, geographic information systems, or mapping. By exploring this tool, you will learn good practices for using PRTR data to, for example, or to strengthen partnerships and networks, helping achieve target E2 of the global framework on chemicals, which is by 2030 partnerships and networks among sectors and stakeholders are strengthened to achieve the sound management of chemicals and waste. Given that the database will be continuously updated, we widely invite stakeholders to share your good practices in the use of the PRTR data and the tools via our webpage. Going to the last tool, harmonize the list of pollutants for global PRTRs. So we have been continuing this harmonization efforts for a decade. A harmonized list of pollutants can significantly improve the comparability of PRTR data on a global scale. Providing a core list of pollutants common to most PRTRs not only enhances comparability among existing systems, but also serves as a foundation for PRTRs under development. Since it is in its initial publication, the harmonized list has been widely adopted by both established and then developing PRTRs. By incorporating these harmonized pollutants into more PRTRs, we increase the global utility of PRTR data, enabling better global analysis, which could help us again measure global progress on the implementation of the global framework on chemicals. So this is the end of my presentation. Please visit our webpage to explore more databases and tools. Going to the next session of PRTR partnership country experiences. This session will showcase the PRTR partnership and present practical country experiences in establishing and implementing PRTR policies. We will begin with an introduction to the PRTR partnership by UNITER, followed by country examples from Spain and Brazil. I would like to now invite Jorge Okana from the UNITER to present the PRTR patent. Jorge, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Naoko, and thank you to everybody for being here, for taking the time to listen to us. I hope we are not too boring to you. Hope we are also having some interesting parts. One thing I would like to mention is that I think Naoko mentioned partnerships in her presentation, that presentation. I think also I heard the word partnership this morning during the meeting. I think partnerships are very important. And there's no doubt that in order to make progress on PRTRs, design, implementation, definitely there is a need for creating a very solid partnership. Sorry, there's again technical problems. I need a partnership now to help me. So then my colleague Steven is helping me. Yes, thank you. The partnership worked very well this time. Thank you. Regarding partnerships, I will just start with a basic definition of partnerships. I mean, why do we 2 people or 3 or 4 or many people get together and trying to make a partnership? First of all, a partnership is an agreement where parties agree to cooperate, work together, and they have mutual interest, mutual objectives. So in that sense, I think for PRTRs applies very well. We have our objective of PRTR. So then it's voluntary as well. So I cannot force anyone to be in the partnership. Sometimes we want to, but we cannot. So in that sense, this is important that remember it's voluntary. You come with your own will. And then it's a contractual relationship. You have definite roles, and then you also contribute to this partnership. A minimum of 2 organizations, 2 people, two entities are needed. So, but I hope in the PRTR partnership we have more than 2. It has a purpose, as I said before, and then every partner is an agent. So essentially, every partner is representing the partnership. And then somehow also every partner feels as an owner of the partnership. That's very important. This is my partnership. This is identifying myself with the partnership. So in that sense, that's quite important as well in a partnership. Okay, now that we have some ideas about partnerships, let's move to the next one. Essentially, the next one is, what is the challenge with the PR partnership? I'm probably just giving you some history about that. So essentially, the PRTR partnership was first proposed during the working group on PRTRs, international group on PRTRs. It was in 2023. And essentially, we just presented a few elements of the partnerships, what it will be, main objectives, specific growth, and what the partnership was going to achieve. We have the PRTR secretariat, but the partnership, the idea was the partnership was going to be more the PRTR in action, essentially the title of this event. Essentially, how do we move and push a little bit more the PRTR agenda? So far, at the moment, there's no concrete progress on the partnership. So even if there is a common understanding, everybody said, yes, it's a good idea. Partnership is good. But we don't see much movement there. We continue with the presentation. So just to come back to the objective of the partnership. For the PRTR partnership, we've identified 3 main objectives. One of them is to identify and coordinate as much as possible every effort on PRTRs. What we see at the moment is efforts going here and there. There is one workshop here in one country. There is one event here. There is one seminar, one tool, but they are not coordinated. Essentially, they are going everywhere, but there's this glue that is missing, this coordination that is missing. The partnership also is intended to support countries in designing and implementing PRTRs. Through what? Through training sessions, webinars, any other training events, developing materials that are needed. I know that at the moment there's a lot of materials out there, and OECD is very active in developing many good materials needed, and many other agencies as well. But somehow, if there is one specific material needed by one country, this is what the partnership will address. Essentially, just going more targeted into what is specifically needed for one region, one country. There is also one of the objectives is to develop a multi-year global PRTR capacity building strategy. In the strategy, the intention is to include all the activities that are going on and the activities that are planned in the next years. Essentially, there's no all these small pieces, the small seminars here and there, materials development, support from one country here, all in one place, as much as we can, of course, and then making a global planning and strategy. The PRTR partnership, who can join? Essentially, anyone can join. It's open to all the UN members. But if you look at the stakeholders of the partnership, also representative from governments, IGOs, multilateral environmental agreements, secretariats, NGOs, private sector, essentially all the stakeholders working with PRTRs are invited to join. The leads for this partnership were proposed. We had UNITAR, UNEC, and OECD. And essentially, the list will coordinate activities of the partnership and will develop and update the global PRTR capacity building strategy. Actually, also the leads will also develop materials, additional materials, and actually will lead as well fundraising activities. So somehow this is also quite important because we are talking about resources, particularly in this year, has been quite difficult. So then in that sense, I think fundraising is quite important aspect that the partnership is willing to undertake. One of the things also that is important is re-emphasizing the fact that we need to work together. The IOMC Toolbox is an excellent example of how we're working together to support countries. In terms of meetings, we're trying to be very cost-effective, and the meetings may take place in a hybrid format probably, and may take place also back-to-back with other ICG meetings. So essentially, it could be blended in person and online. What are the basic needs actually for the PRTR partnerships? We noticed that there is basic needs from countries that there is a need to have some planning, some information sharing. So what are the activities that are going on? What are the activities that are planned? We also need a PRTR node. And in order the partnership to be effective, we may need a minimum, we calculated roughly $70,000 to have a central node that will do all these functions that I just described in my previous slide. There's a participation also, the participants may be willing to share information and actually be actively involved. So it's not the kind of partnership that I register and then I forget about it. No, we would like to have very active participants here. Here are some ideas for resources. As we know, the PRTR activities are always, or most of the time, limited in resources. So in that sense, we need to make the right link of PRTRs to existing conventions and funding mechanisms. We have seen in the previous presentations that have been conventions of Minamata Convention, the Stockholm Convention mentioned already. These are the obvious ones. Essentially, these are the chemicals-related conventions. But there are the other ones that are also quite interesting to explore. One of them is the Biodiversity Convention. We actually offer a couple of entry points for PRTRs. There is also the the Climate Change Convention, which actually also offers a very good entry point for PRTRs. So in that sense, we need to probably think a bit broader, not only the chemicals-related conventions, but also other conventions. And we need to make strong linkages to that. We also need to promote and disseminate PRTRs in countries. I think this is one of the things that we are lacking. For example, I was this morning intervention I made. I just had this question, like, for example, you go to your countries. If your country has a PRTR functioning, you go to the street, would you ask anyone, any citizen, what is PRTR? I bet you that probably 1 out of 10 will know about PRTRs, but 9 people out of 10 will don't know what is PRTR. I'm probably being too optimistic even. Yes. So in that sense, we need to promote what we have in our countries. For the countries that have PRTRs, there is a need for more promotion. So only through this promotion, this awareness raising, that this tool exists. So then the governments will take this tool as a planning tool and will be a very basic and important tool for all the government planning, budgeting, etc. There is also a need to enhance the tool. Essentially, the toolbox includes PRTR guidance and documents that are relevant for designing and making it operational. But probably we may need some other tools, modernize a little bit the tools we have. For example, having a video on PRTRs, something short. And now I don't want to go to the stream, but probably it's quite realistic if I see my daughters coming and asking me, Papi, where is a PRTR? I can easily say, I'll go and see that TikTok PRTR. Why not? So then in that sense, probably it's also important to get also modernizing the tools we're using, because if you look at the guidance documents, I remember in the past, the guidance documents were 300 pages. Nowadays, I bet you very few people will read the 300 pages, but they will instead look at the two TikTok quickly. So in that sense, we need to also modernize our tools as well. This is a brief introduction. Now, excuse me if I'm taking too much time, but I just want to go through this very quickly. Brief introduction to what's coming next in this session. So essentially, regarding PRTR and implementation, what kind of approach we would like to suggest? I think it's important to have a systematic approach. So essentially, an approach to develop PRTRs with a methodology and something that is standardized for most countries. That would be quite valuable. The other thing is also sharing experiences is extremely important. When we take the sharing experiences word, will not only mean having one country with a hyper fantastic PRTR and telling the country that has no PRTRs, oh, this is the way you should do it. And not meaning just being prescriptive, but I meaning sharing experiences among different countries. And I have seen from my own experience on PRTR development that many countries prefer sharing experiences within the region first. And that's important. What my neighbor is doing, how is it doing, what challenges they have, because they have similar, in many cases, there are similar realities. So in that sense, I think this is also important. Sharing experiences at all levels, not only, let's say, from north to south, but also south to south. Let's make a list of PRTR friends. I mean, what kind of ongoing support we can provide, how we can facilitate, how these PRTR friends can support this development and implementation of PRTRs. That's also important. And then the training and capacity building aspect, this is something very important. I mean, when you talk about PRTRs, it's something that has to be present constantly. It's like a coaching that goes over time. If a PRTR design takes 2 years, you need to be present the 2 years. It's not only providing one seminar, one webinar, and then leaving. No, I think it's important to be there because, again, from my own experience, I know that the questions come from one sector to the other, and anytime we should be able to respond to those questions as they come. Stop here. I'm sorry for taking so much time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jorge, for introducing our PRTR partnership very nicely with good ideas for resources and then concrete approach to promote PRTR design and implementation. To share our experiences, now I would like to invite Ms. Teresa Paloma Nieto and Mr. Inigo Vincent Gimingero from the Ministry for the Ecological Transition and the Demographic Challenge of Spain to share Spain's experience in implementing the PRTR with information on how they established the PRTR. Teresa and Inigo, you have the floor.
Yes, okay. Thank you very much, Naoko. Okay, you say my screen, please? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Teresa Palomar. I am Head of Service at the Ministry for Ecological Transition. I am responsible for the PRTR Spain information system. Sorry. Okay. Okay, summary background establishing the Spanish register, okay? PRTR Spain is an information system because I have to access in the website. No? Okay. PRTR Spain is an information system that has a public section, where information is made available to the public in accordance with the applicable PRTR Spain regulation. 2, the general public can automatically access the information in various formats, PDF, Word, and XML. 3, the information or queries made by the public, such as an inventory of installation, facility, and plant. Time series. In the time series, you can search pollutant, years, waste, installation, facility, plants, different options. Pollutant emission and waste transfer in different formats. And other types of contextual information can also be consulted, such as documents on best available techniques, guides, and report. Important, the link to the PRTR Spain website has changed due to the migration to the ministry infrastructure. The current link is displayed on the screen, okay? It's the new link. In addition, PRTR Spain is a working platform because the PRTR Spain is an informant system because public and working platform in the member area. For the facility owner report the required data and responsible authority validate this data. But as you know, it has not always been called PRTR. There was initially a system in place until around 2006 called EPR. As a result of law 16/2002 on integrated pollution prevention and control. The the EPR Spain data covering the years 2001 to 2006 are included in the PRTR Spain database. Okay. The previous speaker has already discussed the regulation, so I won't repeat myself. However, it's important to mention this to understand why Spain has adopted internal regulation to reinforce the application of the protocol and European regulation. Okay. Pollutant release and transfer register arose from the adoption of the Convention of Access to Information. Public participation in decision making at the access to justice in environmental matters, and the Kiev Protocol. At the European level, this resulted in the adoption of the Aarhus Convention Directive and regulation before regulation 116/2006 established an emission register called EPRTR. Following the revision of the Industrial Emission Directive, the industrial emission portal new regulation is 2024-12-44 was also amended. At the national level, PRTR Spain information system included more information that included at the European level. Therefore, Royal Decree 508/2007 was adopted to regulate the provision of information on emission under the PRTR regulation and integrate environmental authorization. This Royal Decree is currently in the early stage of the revision to improve data quality and dissemination, among other things. This slide is an example of the expansion of the information to include more activity in industrial activity, no? PRTR Spain, more pollutant, other data. Okay. What does the entry into the force of the new regulation imply? It implies additional information and a new reporting format and scheme to which all member states must adapt. For example, how work PRTR Spain work? PRTR Spain provides the public with all information validated by the competent authority in accordance with the PRTR protocol, the European regulation, and Royal Decree. As I mentioned earlier, PRTR Spain is an information system that disseminates information to the public and serves as the working tool for the all stakeholders, including facility owner and competent authority. It's ensured that information is collected, validated, and disseminated in accordance with the relevant timeframes, thereby enable PRTR Spain to follow its reporting and dissemination obligation at the national and European level. Okay. PRTR is designed and integrate electronic tools, not paper. There are the member area for the facility owners, competent authority and ministry, and other organization, for example, and other connection with the other public administration in member area, and the public website, access to public and other information for the public in general and stakeholder. The link is changed. Okay. This slide is the reporting frequency is annual. No, there are two reports: administrative report in September and thematic report in November. All reporting is submitted to the ministry electronically. The time for the report, the facility owner, is January and February. The time for the competent authority and ministry is normally March, September, October, the report with the Commission. Okay. Encourage you to visit the website. The general public can submit inquiry in Spanish and English and other regional language. This slide shows the type of inquiry that can be made by the general public. As you can see, it included additional information such as names or waste classification. It covers not only hazardous or non-hazardous waste, but also classification according to the European waste laws, as well as treatment operations such as recovery and disposal in accordance with the European and national waste regulation. As I mentioned it earlier, this slide is an example of the information that can be obtained an inventory of facility, installation queries, time series, waste transfer, and different formats for obtaining information. The format, you say, Word, Excel, PDF, XML, and other options with diagram. But why is PRTR so important? Because it's a consistent with other information systems, including more information, making it a key reference source for public administration, industrial sector, association, university, etc. For example, it including more industrial activity and pollutant, etc. Since 2021, PRTR Spain has been part of the National Statistical Plan. You say every member state have a national statistical plan because depend the Eurostat, no? With PRTR is a statistical operation involves in compliance with the code of good practice. This including compliance with period for collection and validate information, ensuring data quality and dissemination information. We are currently collaborating with the other national information system, such as the Register of Best Available Technique for livestock in Spain. His name is ECOGAM, which is applies to the livestock sector. The objective, the connection PRTR Spain and ECOGAM is to reduce the administrative burden on facility owner and the authorities responsible for validating data and only data for emission for the sector livestock. This is a slide is an example of information query. No? Facility inventory, data by facility, different pollutant, bad conclusion, other document, other report, etc. Guys, this slide for the This is a slide is an example of the information search carried out by some industrial sector in addition to the consulting different document. No? Is there, for example, Office M, other guidance, methodologies used to obtain calculate emission, waste, etc. Updating the new legal requirement, the objective is comparability and harmonization, standardization of criteria and methodology. Difference. The object, sorry. This objective is sign objective and the new regulation, no? But PRTR Spain before have this objective. Wow. Challenge for PRTR, both on national and the global context. You say harmonization with other organizations, OCDE, UNITAR, UNECE, existing international source, and communication and use of PRTR data. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any question, please contact us by email. Once again, I encourage you to visit the PRTR Spain website, for which the link has changed. Thank you very much.
Of your PRTR in Spain, together with legal instrument information, how PRTR in Spain works, public access and the transparency procedures for PRTR, how the data is used by multi stakeholders. Thank you very much, Teresa. I now invite Ms. Danielle de Souza Procopio, from the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change of Brazil to share Brazil's country experience in establishing the PRTR. Danielle, you have the floor.
Hello, thank you everyone. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes. But it's a presenter.
Sorry. Let me try again. Okay.
Maybe you can share the window. Just the window option.
Yeah. Just a moment.
You see, I can help you.
Hello? Can you see me?
It's good now.
Okay, thank you.
It says chemical conventions.
So in 20 minutes.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name is Daniele, and I'm an environment analyst at the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change of Brazil. And today I will briefly present Brazil's experience in developing its PRTR, sharing some of the steps we have taken, the tools we are building, and the lessons we have learned along the way. So here is the summary of my presentation. Um, so Brazil is a signatory to the main multilateral environment agreements related to chemicals and waste. This includes the Basel, Rotterdam, and Stockholm Conventions, as well as the Minamata Convention on Mercury. So, to coordinate and help with the implementation of these conventions, we have established two dedicated working groups under the National Commission Chemical Safety. So, one is the working group on the BRS conventions, and the other is the working group on the Minamata Convention. These groups are responsible for aligning activities across the ministries, improve information flow, and supporting compliance with international commitments. However, we have faced several challenges in meeting the obligations established on these conventions, and some of the other challenges are directly linked to the absence of a national PRTR system in Brazil. So, without a structured and harmonized mechanism for collecting data on pollutant releases and transfers, it became difficult to produce consistent national reports to track progress and to ensure full compliance with international requirements. So, some challenges in meeting this obligation have been, for instance, to prepare inventories on substances emissions. Uh, that because our teams must manually identify the relevant sectors and individual facilities, then reach out to each of these stakeholders one by one. So this is a time-consuming process and depends heavily on the willingness of companies to voluntarily provide information. We are experiencing this challenge right now. We are currently preparing the updated national inventory on dioxins and furans under the Stockholm Convention. And we are also working on the mercury inventory required on the Minamata Convention. In the case of the dioxins and furans inventory, we had to hire a consultant to support the process. He began by mapping and collecting information on all relevant stakeholders, which resulted in a spreadsheet with more than 500 contacts. So after that, the technical team on the Ministry of the Environment had to prepare a sector-specific questionnaires to gather the data needed to estimate emissions on these substances, on dioxins and furans. So these questionnaires were then distributed by email, and we have been waiting for responses from the companies. However, we have observed a very low response rate, and even though preparing this inventory is a government obligation, there is no legal framework in Brazil that requires facilities to provide the requested information. So that's quite a trick situation. And as a result, participation remains largely voluntary. So to address this problem, our team has been working directly on stakeholder engagement. So we are organizing workshops with representatives from different sectors to explain the importance of responding to these questionnaires and to encourage their collaboration in the inventory process. We also follow up by calling each company individually to reinforce the importance of provide the requested information. In many cases, we noticed that due to internal bureaucracy process, our requests did not even reach the technical team responsible for dealing with this topic within the companies. So when that happens, we need to resend the questionnaires and repeat the entire communication process, which makes the work even more time consuming and inefficient. And since there is no legal obligation for facilities to report this information, the responses we receive are often limited, incomplete or inconsistent. So we are now going through the same process for the mercury inventory. However, in this case, we do not have a consultant to support the work. So this means that the entire mapping of stakeholders, the preparation of the questionnaires, and the outreach to the industries are being carried out by the ministry's technical team. So both of this process highlights how essential the PRTR system would be for data collection, improve accuracy, and reduce the reporting burden for all parts involved. So moving to a general overview on the PRTR in Brazil, we do not have a PRTR system yet, but between 2010 and 2016, a consultancy was hired to develop an implementation plan for our PRTR system, and this process resulted in 10 detailed reports outlining the steps Brazil should follow to establish its PRTR. However, despite the level of detail of these reports, the consultancy outputs did not address a critical gap: the absence of a regulatory framework for the PRTR in Brazil. So even if all the recommendation steps had been fully implemented, the implementation steps described on these 10 reports, the country would still lack a legal basis to require mandatory pollutant release and transfer reporting for facilities. So, in other words, a foundational legal instrument is still missing in Brazil. So, recognizing that the advancement of the PRTR implementation in Brazil depends on a clear regulatory framework in defining the obligations of all stakeholders. The Ministry of Environment and Climate Change has joined force with the Brazilian Institute of Environment and Renewable Resources, the IBAMA, and the Regional Chemistry Council of the 50th region, the CRQ, to develop a draft PRTR resolution. So this draft resolution will be, I show here the flow to implement in the slides, the flow to implement the PRTR in Brazil. So first we have to draft this resolution, and then the document will be submitted to the National Environment Council, the CONAMA, for consideration. And once the proposal is present, it will go under a public consultation process, allowing stakeholders and the public to contribute with perspectives and insights. So, following the public consultation, a dedicated working group will be established to carefully review the feedbacks we received and define the depth tests accordingly. So, this collaborative and transparent approach is essential to ensure that the final regulation is robust, inclusive, and effectively supports the success implementation of the PRTR system in Brazil. So, right now, Brazil already has a wide range of environment data collection across different levels of governments. The data collection of this system sometimes align with we typically have on PRTR system, but they are not the same. So it's essential to use this existing data to efficiently to avoid duplication of efforts and the need for stakeholders to report the same information and multiple systems. So it's important that this draft resolution carefully considers these factors to prevent regulatory overlap. So to avoid any regulatory duplication, we are designing the PRTR resolution around the concept of a single window system. So the goal is to implement a digital platform capable of automatically collecting environment data that companies already report to other national systems. By integrating this type of information into a single window system, we can reduce the reporting burden on industry and avoid requiring companies to submit the same data twice. At the same time, this approach would improve the data consistency and strengthens the overall quality of national PRTR information. So to make this single window approach operational, we have envisioned two complementary report mechanisms within this single window system. So first would be the direct reporting, in which facilities would enter information directly into this PRTR system. So this would include basic identification data, emission and transfer information, and the quantification methodologies they used. And a second way to provide this information within the system would be the pre-filled reporting, which would allow the system to automatically import data that companies have already submitted to other official environment control monitoring or management systems. So this would reduce duplication and minimize administrative burden. But regarding of the choosing methodology available, the facilities remain fully responsible for verifying the accuracy of all pre-filled data. So they must review the information and make necessary corrections, additions, or delete any information before submitting their PRTR declaration. The implementation plan would begin with the publication of the Brazilian PRTR resolution, which will provide the legal basis for mandatory reporting. And after that, the next step is to make the PRTR single window system available, allowing facilities to access the platform and submit the data directly or review the pre-filled information important for other systems. So once this system is operational, we will establish deadlines for companies to submit their PRTR declarations. These deadlines will vary according to the size of the facility, ensuring that smaller companies have sufficient time and flexibility to comply with the reporting obligations, and that small companies also learn from what larger companies have already done in the meantime. Regarding the list of substances and the list of activities of the Brazilian PRTR, both are being current draft. This list will be published after the PRTR resolution so that future updates can be made more easily and without requiring a full regulatory revision, because this would require going to the full process of submitting a draft resolution to the National Environment Council, even if we do not intend of changing the whole resolution, but just updating the activities and the substances list. So the list of pollutants is being compiled based on the implementation plan developed by the consultancy between 2010 and 2016, and is aligned with the international best practice for PRTR systems. So meanwhile, the list of activities that will be required to report information is being developed using the National Classification of Economic Activities, the CNAE. This classification system assigns standardized codes to economic activities in Brazil and is widely used for registration, taxation, and regulatory oversight. So using this CNAE ensures clarity, consistency, and easier identification of the sectors subject to PRTR reporting. So right now we are finalizing the draft PRTR resolution, and we aim to send it to the National Environment Council by the end of this year. So thank you very much for the opportunity to participate on this webinar. And if you have any questions or would like further clarification, please feel free to contact us using the email address provided on the slide. So again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Danielle, for sharing the current progress on establishment of the PRTR in Brazil. I'm glad to see that you have very concrete ideas on the legislation and the idea of the new PRTR system. Thank you very much. Now we will have the final section of questions and the discussion. We would like to invite both in-person and virtual participants to raise your hands if you would like to make an intervention. Please state your name and organization before speaking. As we have limited time for this session, you are also welcome to send your questions by email to each speakers or to Barry, my colleague, and we can connect you with the speakers after the event concludes. Now, I'd like to open the floor to see if you have any comments or questions. Yes, Christoph?
Yes, thank you very much, Naoko. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'm sorry, I excuse myself for not being able to be here earlier. What I wanted to first say is, yeah, it's quite an impressive insight on all the details that you actually need to take into mind, and also where it's actually useful to have this stakeholder engagement and the information shared, the participation in the process of developing the PRTR, in order to be able to really understand where are the difficulties. For example, in Brazil, it was mentioned that smaller companies need more time also to implement the reporting, for example, which needs to be taken into account. And I know also from Spain that the Spanish PRTR is very popular among the PRTR systems. There are many requests on the websites. There are thousands of users making use of the PRTR data. And this is also because they had workshops and do work to make it known to the public, as was mentioned before also by Jorge, as a big issue of if nobody knows of PRTRs, then you don't have the possibility to actually really develop and promote it further because there's no support. And yeah, I would like to highlight these aspects of PRTR development. And again, sorry for not being able to be here earlier.
Thank you very much, Christoph, for sharing your views on their presentations. Well, we have only 2 minutes, so I'd like to close the side event, June. Okay. So before I close, I'd like to share a few practical follow-up points. A video recording of the session, as I said, will be made available shortly on the event web page, and all presentations will be also circulated by email to the registered participants. You will receive a link to a very short feedback survey. We kindly ask you to take just a few minutes to complete it. Your feedback is extremely valuable and it helps us improve the content and the format of our webinars. In the survey, you will also have the opportunity to request a certificate of attendance and then subscribe to the webinar series to stay informed about future events. Thank you once again for joining us, and we look forward to staying in touch. Thank you very much to the speakers. Thank you so much to the audience. Thank you.